Snake, good. I try to tell him both. I try to tell him both. Let's get it. I got you on what? Yes. One time.
Hey friends, hey. It's your girl Bengali Black coming at you live from Code Switch Productions. I'm feeling hungry and one of my favorite foods is fried chicken. I know it's been controversial in our community, and honestly, it's time to get to the bottom of it. So on today's episode, we're taking a bite out of history by deep diving into the past. So let's get clucking right here on Not Your Typical News. Okay, let's jump into some history. In order to understand the controversy, we have to start at the beginning. The chickens we eat today originated from a breed of jungle fowl in Southeast Asia. At the time, they weren't consumed as often because most people regarded them as sacred. The Asians believed that a fowl could predict the future since they always signaled when the sun came up. The jungle fowls were domesticated and either sacrificed or used for entertainment, such as cockfights. Eventually, through crossbreeding, the chicken we eat today was created. Chickens used to be a seasonal dish as most of the bird's meat was too tough, so it could only be consumed when it had matured to a certain age. But soon the chickens were reproducing at rapid rates and found themselves being bred in different parts of the world. The Arabs first introduced chickens to West Africa around 1000 CE. The West Africans felt the bird was lucky and only ate it on special occasions. They had many ways to cook the bird, but one popular way was to fry the bird in palm oil for a few minutes and then stew the pieces in a sauce. It was actually the Scottish who invented the version that we know and love. The Scottish enjoy battering their chicken in flour and egg and pan-frying it in fat to crispy perfection. Through wars and cultural exchange, the recipe found its way in England, where it was recorded in a popular cookbook. That cookbook would make it to thousands of homes in America. Through slavery, Black people got introduced to this recipe. Although the foundation of it is not our own, we did add the most important ingredient, the seasonings. The dish quickly became a home favorite, with Black chefs making it for their owners and for themselves. Back then, some slave owners allowed their captives to have a small garden and some chickens. A chicken provided a meal big enough for a family who needed the protein so they could perform harsh labor. Although chicken was a crowd favorite, its abundance quickly made it branded as poor people food. After the Civil War, many Black people found themselves without food or shelter. Black codes prevented many of our ancestors from being able to work, so they were quickly branded as lazy or stupid. The fact that they relied on chicken as a cheap source of food was used as a mockery against them. The idea was only solidified when a very racist man named D.W. Griffith made a film called A Birth of a Nation in the 1900s. In his film, he used white actors to depict free Black people as wild rapists and lazy buffoons. But most notably, he portrayed us as savagely eating fried chicken and watermelons. Why these particular foods, you ask? Because they were foods that needed to be consumed by hand, and while half the world eats with their hands, Europeans found it unrefined. Unfortunately, a delicious treat would cause us years of vicious torment. Around 1929, America hit one of its lowest economic downturns, and they called it the Great Depression. At this time, employment rates were at an all-time low, meaning many Americans of all races found themselves poor and needing cheaper food alternatives. Many food establishments began serving dishes that were made from minimal ingredients, such as hamburgers, casseroles, and of course, good old fried chicken. Fried chicken wasn't always the ideal option because it took about 29 minutes to pan fry, but one gas station owner in North Corbin, Kentucky was about to change the game forever, and his name was Colonel Harlan Sanders. Colonel Sanders wanted to speed up the cooking process for the chicken, so he got a pressure cooker and filled it with oil. What could have led to a horrible explosion actually led to cutting the cooking time down to mere minutes. With his new technology in play, he began selling his secret recipe with 11 herbs and spices out of a gas station. It wasn't long before his business was booming and customers were coming frequently for some crispy bird. After a fire at the gas station, he opened a motel which doubled as a restaurant. He served many dishes, but the most requested was his popular fried chicken. It wasn't long before his popularity got him nicknamed the Kentucky Colonel. After a decline in motel guests in the 1950s, Colonel Sanders decided to go into the chicken business full-time, and in 1952 he opened the first Kentucky Fried Chicken. Although it enjoyed temporary success, business began to decline steadily, and at age 65 he barely had any money. he decided to sell his recipe to restaurants and charge them to franchise it. This became a profitable business, and in 1962, KFC had become the popular food chain that we know today. But although Colonel Sanders seemed like a kindly old man, rumors began to swell that he ripped off a black woman named Miss Childress. While there is no direct evidence of this, it makes a lot of sense for the time period. Many black people were not allowed to be educated, making it impossible to record recipes. It was later said that he paid her $1,200 for the recipe, which is controversial since he made millions off of it. While there seems to be a lot of skeletons in Colonel Sanders' closet, one thing's for sure, his checker past didn't put a dent in his finger-licking good empire. If you live in a primarily African-American neighborhood, you might have frequented the local chicken spot. Many of us know them as Crown, Kennedy, or Crazy Fried Chicken, and it usually has a wide variety of options for cheap. Most notably, they are usually ran by Middle Eastern workers. Have you ever wondered why? Well, I'll tell you. The concept of Crown originated in Harlem at a place called Kansas Fried Chicken. This establishment was black-owned, but they hired an Afghani immigrant named Tayyab Zia. He worked at the restaurant for 3 years and liked the structure so much that he went to Brooklyn and started his own in 1975. He called it Kennedy Fried Chicken, naming it after John F. Kennedy, a president he said most Afghanis were fond of. He did make some changes to his chicken spot, such as making all the options halal and making it the same color scheme as the already famous KFC. He believed this would trick customers into believing they were in an actual KFC and continue to order anyway. His crazy method worked, and soon Kennedys were popping up all over the place. The only problem was they weren't all his. It seems like another thing Afghanis were fond of is trademark infringement. Tayyab went after some of the businesses in court and won, but there were too many to sue. Eventually, the businesses started changing their names to Crazy or Crown to avoid being sued, which is why every neighborhood has its own version of the same original Kennedy's Fried Chicken structure. Many health experts question the placement of unhealthy food in black neighborhoods as opposed to healthier stores. A lot of businesses have claimed that black people don't demand such establishments as pharmacies and grocery stores, so they don't see a potential profit. This seems to be changing rapidly as gentrification sweeps our neighborhoods. Businesses that used to find our spaces undesirable are now setting up shop and labeling themselves organic, leaving many to question, why now? Today, many people of all races enjoy fried chicken, but for our people, it's still used as a way to mock us. No matter how many versions of fried chicken that emerge, people still affiliate it with black culture. It's a sour subject, but it's also a delicious treat, and despite its dark stain on us, we shouldn't be ashamed to like fried chicken. There are so many different versions now, such as Nashville hot chicken or my favorite, Korean fried chicken. So if you like chicken, just enjoy it, and you can tell your haters they can just cluck right off. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's fried chicken episode of Not Your Typical News. For more information on anything you've heard here today, please visit the links below in my description. And guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Code Switch Productions, who was responsible for bringing this fried chicken episode to life. For more information on Code Switch, please visit the links below as well. So guys, after all this information, I'm starving. So I'm going to catch you guys next time for some great food, some great fun, and some what? That's right guys, some even greater history. See you guys next time. Bye.